This was a time of unbridled progress, creating exponential chaos in its wake. An era of rampant industrialization and urbanization that was choking in the grip of its own might, hobbled by archaic infrastructure and paralyzed governance. The city yearned for order. It cried out for a savior, for a leader with a firm hand. But no one expected someone to arrive with a soul colder than the concrete he laid. This is Robert Moses, the builder of New York.
The world belongs to those who think big. And Robert Moses didn't just think big. He thought in tons of concrete and miles of highways. But where did this uncompromising vision come from? Born in 1888 into a wealthy, aristocratic family from New Haven, Moses grew up in a world of privilege and high expectations. His father, Alfred Moses, was a successful department store owner and investor, and his mother, Bella Cohen Moses, was active in social causes and the fight for civil rights. An irony you'll understand later. It was in this home where evening conversations weren't about petty gossip, but about the fate of the world, about big problems and possible solutions. That Moses absorbed the idea it was his right and duty to change the world, to rule. When Moses was young, New York was a boiling cauldron of contradictions, a city exploding in growth. Tens of thousands of immigrants poured in from Europe, fleeing devastating poverty, religious persecution, and uncertainty. From Ireland, Italy, Eastern Europe, all seeking the American dream, and New York was its gateway. The result? A mega city, quite literally bursting at the seams. Imagine narrow, muddy streets, packed with people and horse-drawn carts, factory smoke covering everything. Sanitary conditions? Appalling. In some of the poorest neighborhoods, rents for miserable rooms were higher than those in European capitals, and people were literally throwing their trash and excrement from windows onto the street. Diseases ran rampant. Chaos was daily life. But even in this hell, New York paid. The economy roared. After graduating from Yale, Oxford, and Columbia with degrees in law and a doctorate in political science, Moses began his career as an idealist. As a young man, he was part of New York's reform movements, a group that naively believed it could change the system from within. But he soon saw how bureaucracy suffocated every idea, how politicians fought for power, not progress. He participated in committees, wrote reports, and proposed solutions. Yet his voice, however well-reasoned, changed nothing. Moses quickly realized one thing: true power wasn't in elections. He craved autonomy. And then, his chance came. In 1919, he developed a proposal to reorganize the New York State government. While ultimately not adopted, it caught the attention of Belle Moskowitz, a friend and trusted advisor to Governor Al Smith. Smith, a man with equally grand ambitions for modernization, was impressed by Moses's energy and intelligence. He gave Moses his first major post, head of the state parks. In his new position, Moses immediately began restructuring power. Through his authoritarian character, successful lobbying, and Al Smith's support, he pushed through unprecedented laws. These laws granted him eminent domain rights with extraordinary ease, meaning he could demolish entire neighborhoods in the name of progress. More importantly, he created public authorities, specialized government agencies with the crucial right to collect tolls from bridges and tunnels. Similar authorities existed before, but Moses secured a privilege no one had previously obtained, retaining all residual toll revenues within these authorities instead of returning them to the state budget. This guaranteed him unprecedented and invulnerable financial autonomy and operational freedom. His first colossal project was Jones Beach State Park on Long Island. Initially just a swamp, a mess of mosquitoes and sandstorms. Yet in just 4 years, Moses completely transformed it. He pumped millions of cubic yards of sand to raise the entire area 12 to 14 feet, nearly 4 meters, above sea level. Thus, from nothing,
a monumental People's Beach was born, a gigantic resort for the masses. The complex itself included miles of beaches, 2 massive bathhouses, east and west, with Art Deco elements, numerous restaurants, and sporting facilities. To demonstrate his grandiosity, Moses also constructed a 231-foot, 70-meter water tower designed to resemble the bell tower of St. Mark's in Venice. But the scope of his work extended far beyond this. Parallel to Jones Beach, Moses constructed an entirely new state park system. By 1930, on Long Island alone, he had already created 9,700 acres, nearly 40 square kilometers, of parkland. To ensure access to these fresh recreational areas, he also built an extensive network of scenic roadways, known as parkways, including the iconic Northern State Parkway and Southern State Parkway. For these ventures, Moses unceremoniously displaced thousands of individuals from their residences, obliterating entire communities. His brand of progress came at a steep cost of personal tragedies. Here, the first indications of his cold ruthlessness and veiled discriminatory planning began to surface. With deliberately low overpasses above his parkways, he ensured that urban buses, predominantly used by less affluent segments of the population, would be unable to reach his parks. It's even alleged that Moses ordered the water in his swimming pools to be several degrees colder, believing that black people disliked cold water. Jones Beach and this entire network of parks and roads stand as monuments that unequivocally prove Robert Moses got things done rapidly, on a grand scale, and without deference to anyone or anything. However, his most significant and brutal actions were yet to come, as the Great Depression and the war opened doors to his absolute authority. In October 1929, Wall Street was on its knees. America was plunged into the Great Depression. New York City was paralyzed. Thousands were left without employment and without savings. The market contracted sharply, and all construction initiatives were frozen. Yet, amidst this widespread disarray, Robert Moses not only survived, he thrived. Thanks to the financial autonomy of his public authorities, Moses maintained access to funds. While traditional capital sources dried up, his bonds, secured by toll revenues, remained one of the few reliable investment instruments. This provided him a constant flow of financing, making him a pivotal figure in absorbing billions of federal dollars from the New Deal, a massive government program for economic revitalization and job creation. He was the only one in New York with ready projects and functioning structures, capable of immediately commencing large-scale construction, which was the primary reason for his success with these funds. His power was undeniable. Though many local residents disliked his uncompromising methods, all politicians, from mayors to governors, were forced to comply with him. Moses skillfully manipulated elected officials, threatening to halt funding for vital projects or withdraw his significant support for job creation before elections. For them, demonstrating that things were getting done in the city was crucial. His authority wasn't derived from elections, but from financial independence and legal obligations. Once issued, his bonds were legal contracts with investors, protected by the Supreme Court. An attempt to seize control of toll revenues would constitute a breach of contract, leading to multi-billion-dollar lawsuits initiated by the investors themselves against the city or state, capable of financially collapsing institutions. Moses maintained excellent relationships with the federal government, including with President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had a vested interest in the rapid and efficient utilization of New Deal funds. Furthermore, Moses cleverly used newspapers to shape public opinion in his favor, portraying himself as the city's savior. Over the years, he would accumulate over a dozen key state and city posts, granting him unprecedented, almost dictatorial control. Beyond his political shrewdness, Moses was a true workaholic, exceptionally skilled, and an undisputed professional. He built an unparalleled team of engineers, architects, and specialists who were capable of transforming his every vision into reality. Thus, during the Depression and throughout the years of World War II, Moses became the absolute master of infrastructure. The war, while temporarily slowing down large-scale construction, paved the way for an even greater post-war boom. The era of his most colossal constructions was about to begin, the very ones that would also mark his end. After the war, Robert Moses was at the zenith of his power. He had already created an unprecedented network of bridges, tunnels, and parks, but his true ambition was to transform New York into a city for automobiles. This was the era of massive urban expressways, a symbol of his grandiosity and insensitivity. Projects like the Cross Bronx Expressway epitomized his brutality. To carve this highway through the heart of the Bronx, Moses displaced over 60,000 people, demolishing entire thriving neighborhoods and communities. He had no regard for the people living there. For him, they were merely obstacles in the path of progress. His philosophy was clear: you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. By dividing neighborhoods, he not only physically altered the city's appearance, but also ripped apart its social fabric, deepening racial and economic segregation. By the 1960s, Moses had built 27 expressways and 13 bridges, forming the skeleton of modern New York, but at the cost of thousands of ruined lives. His power seemed absolute, but it was precisely these brutal actions that ignited the spark of resistance. Onto the scene stepped Jane Jacobs, a journalist, writer, and activist. She was the complete opposite of Moses. She believed in the power of communities, the vitality of neighborhoods, and the human scale of cities. When Moses planned to construct the Lower Manhattan Expressway, a highway that would have destroyed historic neighborhoods like Greenwich Village, Little Italy, and Soho, Jacobs stood against him. She rallied thousands of people, organized protests, and used the media to expose Moses's methods. The battle was long and fierce, filled with furious debates and public confrontations. Moses, accustomed to absolute obedience, was enraged. He called Jacobs a housewife and city fanatic, incapable of understanding his great vision. But Jacobs had the support of the people and the power of conviction. Her struggle marked a turning point. For the first time, Moses encountered organized and effective opposition that was not afraid of him. In 1962, the Lower Manhattan Expressway project was halted. This was the first major loss in his career and the beginning of his decline. Public opinion gradually began to turn against him, as people realized the true cost of his progress. His political support waned. In 1968, after nearly half a century of absolute power, Robert Moses was removed from his last major post. He faded almost as quietly as he had built loudly. Robert Moses's legacy is controversial. He built modern New York, but the cost was thousands of ruined lives and destroyed communities. His story is a lesson in the price of unchecked power and the strength of ordinary people to stand against it. If you liked the content, you can support me by subscribing. Until next time.